My name is Dean Page, and I'm a certified life coach. I help my clients get perspective, reach their goals, and change their world. I've also had the opportunity to meet a lot of interesting people. People who have had unique careers, built up businesses, and triumphed through adversity. So one day it dawned on me, why not put the two together? Why not start a show where people can tell their stories of building success and rebuilding from adversity, with the intent purpose to encourage, inspire, and inform others who are working on their goals to fulfill their dreams. Now, if I only knew what to call it. Maybe I should make a list. Wait, that's it. The Dean's List. Kinda has a nice ring to it. So I hope you join my guests and I on this upcoming episode of The Dean's List. What do the names Kofi Kingston, Ivar the Viking Raiders, Tommaso Ciampa, and Josh Briggs all have in common? Well, besides being elite sports entertainment superstars, they all give homage to the importance of mastering the fundamentals early in their training, and more specifically, that of their trainer, Mike Coach Hollow. Initially trained by WWE Hall of Famer Walter Killer Kowalski, Mike discovered that he had the ability to teach and to bring out the best in others. And that's what he started to do at Kowalski School, and he continues to do so even today. If you're a pro wrestling fan or someone who's thinking of a career in pro wrestling, Coach Mike Hollow is someone you should definitely have a conversation with. If you're not a fan of pro wrestling per se, but you're looking for tips and ideas on how to stand out from your competition, whether it be in business, arts, or science, wondering how to be more confident or how to excel in your chosen field, then Mike's lessons and insights are for you as well. After all, several times in the podcast, he says he's training his students to be professional wrestlers both inside and outside the ring. I hope you join us today for this very insightful conversation. And oh yeah, there's some really cool Killer Kowalski stories in there too. You have the dream, desire, and talent. Everyone knows you have the work ethic. You have the best gyms, personal trainers, and workout programs. What about overcoming the challenges or getting your head in the game? I can help with that. Visit DeanPageLifeCoach.com. I help clients get perspective, reach their goals, and change their world. Maybe you could be next.
Hey guys, this is NXT superstar Josh Briggs, and I just want to take a moment and talk about my former coach, my first coach, Mike Hollow. I realized very quickly on in my training process with Mike that he has an attention to detail that's probably second to none in this business. And the way that he coaches footwork and basics and the fundamentals, it's something I don't think anyone else can replicate. I think he is the best in the entire industry at coaching the basics, the fundamentals, and the footwork. I remember there's this analogy that he had that he always told me, and it still sits in my head to this day. When you're building a career, you want to have a solid foundation, and the foundation of a solid career is basics and footwork and fundamentals. So once you have that foundation, then you can start building the house on top of that foundation. You want to build that house as high as you can. And I think with Mike Hollow's foundation, his basics, his footwork, his fundamentals, you have an opportunity to build a career as big as you want. So if you're with Mike, you're in good hands. Listen to him, trust him, and you're under the best learning tree and the best family tree that this professional wrestling world has today.
Talked a lot about opportunities and being ready. It sounds like at least if I hear it right, obviously when you get an opportunity, you want to seize it. But it sounds like you take steps back to be as prepared as possible. So then when the opportunity's there, you're ready and you're ready to go. Is that accurate?
I think it's spot on. And I share that statement often because, look, at opportunities might be few and far between. And someone that might be the right set of eyes that's going to make a decision. And if you're not prepared, that's a reflection of that you've done it, you haven't done your due diligence or put enough time in to get you through that door. So when those opportunities are present with where someone's going to change your life, and you can't go back and say, geez, I wish I'd done this and I wish I'd done that. And that's why, for me, the big focus is little things, because that's what those guys are really looking for. They're looking for little things. They're not looking for a flash or this or that. Can you do those things, those nuts and bolts that are going to allow them to build onto with what you have from a foundation, with where at some point in their career they can put the roof on and all the other pretty pieces. But if that's not solid, it's those opportunities now become, fewer and fewer in between.
As in life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's your work ethic, it's your reputation, it's your credibility, it's your word, your ability to be coached and constructive criticism and take direction and do as you're told and listen. So, all of that's, full 360. It's, do you do all those things well? And if not, there's got to be some self-assessment with where, okay, what's hindering me to being able to turn the page to get with where I want to be? There's people that want to help me, but how am I helping myself with that feedback or that direction or that insight that's going to allow me to prosper?
Which is key.
Yeah.
Again, there's a difference between confidence and I'd say confidence and cockiness.
Yeah.
Yep. Because hey, listen, I got the ability, but to be able to take that and like, you know what, this is not so good. Here's how you want to get better, improve here and go, okay, how do I fix this versus, well, but I'm really good over here. I used to run that in the martial arts sometimes.
I've had, a tremendous amount of very talented athletic guys and girls, but they didn't have that other half. And then I've come across people that had half of what he or she had, and they were just relentless, and they found their way, and opportunities were vast, were coming more often than not because of just their mental approach, their ability, their just desire not to take no for an answer, with where others thought because they were gifted that it was going to be the other way, and that wasn't always the case.
It's interesting when I hear you say that. I've noticed, and obviously there is certainly a physicality. There's no doubt about that. But I notice and when I say character, I mean character as in heart and work ethic, just not the character.
Right.
I noticed you didn't say, well, you got to be 6'5", you got to be 380, you got to be able to do this, you got to be really good on mic, whatever. It sounds like you got to be, well, you did say you got to be realistic about yourself.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're saying you got to come in and willing to learn and take the bumps, learn how to do them right and show heart and listen, and we trust us to get you there.
Right. Yeah, I'm looking for, those intangibles because there's so many that you need to have. And again, it's being realistic, and it's not for all, but if you demonstrate those things and with where we see that, it just allows things to go in a much better direction with where some of those pieces might be missing. And, those conversations have to happen with where, being honest with talent and saying, there's just some of these things just aren't clicking the way that they're supposed to. Maybe there's something else that we should be looking at with where you could do in this business besides wrestling, so forth and so on. I mean, we don't want to have those conversations. We want everyone to be able to aspire, but sometimes it's just not realistic. It's not in the cards.
But isn't that being a good coach?
Yeah.
And legit?
the one thing one thing you can say about me is that um, I'm honest, and I don't in honest in a way with where I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings. But it's the same thing if in the business world, right? Some people are cut out to do certain things in the business world in their field of employment, and others aren't. And it's the same thing that applies for us in the world of professional wrestling. And
Hmm.
and we love to be proved wrong too. I mean,
Hmm.
show us that that you can get over that hump, and that's what's even makes it even more exciting with where it's they become success stories.
Hmm. Which you have those. Well, we have that list. You got some pretty good names talking about you. And what's neat is when you listen to the videos, they're saying a lot of the same stuff you're saying now. So anybody listening, this is not a Mike doesn't have a script that he's saying this is how to get you in the door. So you write a check and then we're done. This is and plus I've uh, had dinner with him one time. I enjoyed it. I mean, we talked wrestling and
Yeah,
the infamous Walter stories,
right.
which are great. But what I notice is I studied leadership and love leadership is that's a passion of yours. It comes across when you're not, in between ordering a salad and getting, and getting the main course, which is neat. How does leadership play in, I guess, as far as like for students coming in, but also overall?
Um, Leadership is something that's very important to me. Um, and I think for when you talk about, I think you were talking about some of the people that created messages or videos. Is that what you're? It,
Yes.
yeah. I'll let you in on a little secret, and you'll probably laugh at me when I tell you this. Um, you know what I don't do? I don't listen to them, and I take them and I share them with Scott, and I've never heard of listened to with what someone has said, and and I and I don't know why, and
Oh, I could tell you why. Because you're not about you. You're about bringing out the best in people.
yeah,
I like that's my life coach. Life coach things kind of jumps in every now and then. Like, oh, yeah, that makes sense.
yeah,
You know.
and I tell people that, and they go, "What do you mean you don't listen to them?" And I haven't, and then. Scott has tried to, hey, Mike, listen to this, and I'll walk away from him because I don't want to hear it. I mean, I'm very, very appreciative, very appreciative.
No.
So, um, and for all of them, it's just it was my responsibility. Responsibility ultimately is just to put all of them, and they trusted me to put in the best place
Mhm.
possible. So they could succeed in their careers. And there was times with where we had challenging times from a development or back and forth disagreement, so forth and so on.
Sure.
But it was always in the best interest of them. And I think Kofi says it best. It's the briefcase mentality, right? Coach always used to say, doing business inside the ring and outside the ring. Do you do
Yep.
those well? So, and can you survive in that environment in the world of business with where you have all of those intangibles together with where you can continue to stay employed and work well with others. And I think ultimately it was my job is to instill upon those things that were instilled upon me way back when from Walter and others, that to give back, because listen, we all need direction, we all need help. Rock says it's best. I didn't get to WrestleMania by myself. People helped
Mm.
me get there, right? So I think that's the biggest piece is always giving back and trying to point people in the right direction, and so that stuff's important.
So elite pro wrestling. You have to say the full name, Dean. Conquer. So I'm a life coach, not sales. Take 432. Yes, this car is. What's the name of the car? No.
Yeah.
Anyways, um, you have a unique thing that you have that, and then WFA. Do you mind if we talk about WFA a little
No,
bit?
we can. I love talking about both of them because, again, it's a brand, and we're trying to grow both. It's exciting. It's there's energy and there's opportunity for many, and I just it's a breath of fresh air on the independents, both from a school standpoint and from a promotional standpoint. So let's have at it.
All right, great. Um, so there's I'll tell you a quick story, and then I'm going to see how you tie in the school with the with WFA. My son James wanted to be a wrestler. We were doing Taekwondo, we were doing that, and he wanted to be a wrestler. So he told me about this school by a guy named Steve Bradley was running it.
Mm-hmm.
So me being that, you talked about you're the coach, you're the business guy, and you're the dad. Well, that was the dad mode. Okay, who you going where? Let's go find this out. Went, met, and like, okay. So James did it, and so he trained for a while. Well, and again, I was. Steve said, hey, stay. Steve was no dummy. let's make sure the dad's okay.
Yeah.
So I got to stay and watch, and there were some people there who were setting up the ring, and James helped with that, and which was another thing when I realized, yeah, that's not a trampoline. And so as I'm waiting, this guy comes in, walks by me, and I don't know if you heard of him. His name's Scott Reed. So he was there, so I got to meet him. He was training there, and then and then the first WFA show, I took all my kids. We all went, and the very first WFA match I saw was with Scott Reed and Brandon the Real Deal.
Oh, yeah.
That was our first WFA. So, and I don't want to get into any of the controversy. I don't need to. You guys, I think what's going is good enough to say what's good enough. But that's what I remember WFA. I remember those guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah.
They were there when I was there. So enough already. So with that said, how does WFA tie into the school or the other way around?
It's obviously it's two separate businesses, but I think one you need one and the other. It's if I was a student, I'd be saying there's a carrot at the end of the road, and here it is that we can train students to have that opportunity with where over a period of time, if things are going well, whether it's 6 months, 8 months to a year, is that they can work in their home promotion and right in their own backyard with where we have this beautiful school and a beautiful building to run shows, so forth and so on. So I think it just complements each other extremely well, and I think the students, it's to their advantage. And again, as Scott and I, as trainers or leaders, get to see firsthand of with what they're doing and the experience their first matches or many of matches, and to give that constructive feedback with where if they were out on their own, do they have 2 or 3 people that are actually looking after them like we do, to kind of keep them in a good place and down that right road of success. So it's really a healthy fit from a development standpoint and from a professional standpoint. So it's a great combination, in my opinion.
You have the dream, desire, and talent. Everyone knows you have the work ethic. You have the best gyms, personal trainers, and workout programs. But what about overcoming the challenges, setbacks, or hindrances that are a risk to your incredible potential? I can help with that. Visit DeanPageLifeCoach.com. I help clients get perspective, reach their goals, and change their world. Maybe you could be next.
What's going on, y'all? You know who I am, and you know what I do. And if you don't, my name is Kofi, and I don't really even want to talk about myself right now. I want to talk about my wrestling coach, the guy who broke me into the business, the guy who gave me all the tools to succeed in this industry. I'm talking about Mike Hollow. He always emphasized how important the basics were. That's what separates him from everybody else. Anybody can go out there and do all the crazy moves and all the impressive stunts and feats and all that in the ring. But really what it comes down to is the basics. You know, he taught me little things like minimizing your footsteps in the ring so that you're not pitter-pattering all over the place and you're stumbling and bumbling and fumbling all over the place when you're trying to execute a move in the ring, or even just how to like conduct yourself, not just inside the ring, but outside the ring. He talked about bringing your briefcase to the table and conducting business in a professional way, even being able to interact with the people. You know, all of these tools are things that I still use to this day. I mean, geez, like what, 15 years later? But crazy to say that, but it's been that long. You know, for me, I tell people how lucky I was. It was just luck of the draw that I just decided to go to a wrestling school that just so happened to have Mike Hollow there as a trainer. But for you, it doesn't have to be luck. You know, you can actually choose to go to one of, if not the best trainers out there in Mike Hollow. If you want to succeed in this industry, I highly suggest going to hollowsstable.net and looking up Mike Hollow and allowing him to do what he does and give you all the tools that you need to succeed in this industry, man. Trust me when I tell you, you won't regret it by any means. He is amazing. He's an awesome teacher, an awesome trainer, and an awesome person. So look him up, get the tools that you need, get in that ring, and achieve some dreams like I did. All right? Peace, y'all. Bang!
I went to the majority of the New Hampshire shows. A couple times I had some scheduling stuff, but and I thought it was great. Something I noticed initially is you brought in it's a lot of people from different areas, and then it seems more. Was that? Well, obviously it was on purpose because people didn't just walk in the door and say, "Hi, I'm here. Can I wrestle?"
Right.
But was there a strategic plan initially,
Yeah.
as far as on that end of it?
Yeah,
Or
there was. You know, I think, you know, for the promotional side of it, it was trying to figure out, you know, who's out there from independent talent, you know, who could potentially be a good fit for the organization from a long-term standpoint. Um, you know, who was good to work with, you know, who was good to take who took direction well, who connected. So I would probably say we probably ran 10 or 12 shows, just, you know, shuffling people talent in and out on purpose to kind of get a sense of, okay, who wants to be with us, who do we want to keep around, and trying to figure out with what direction that we want to go in. And we'll continue to with where we're, you know, bringing different people in at different times. And it's kind of gotten to the point now with where the core people are starting to kind of, you know, the Spencer Slades, the Brad Bailers, so forth and so on, with where we're, you know, the WFA is finding its identity with what we're looking to do over a period of time. You know, we've had our bumps, we've had our ups and downs, but again, it's, you know, trying to figure out what works and with what doesn't work. So it's, you know, sometimes good decisions, sometimes bad.
well, that sounds like a little bit of like what you're doing with the school with the kids. It's not like, okay, we need somebody who's 6'5", who's this or this or this.
Right.
This is the blueprint in the story. Boom, who fits that?
Yep.
It sounds like you see what you have and then work with it. Which again, if it sounds like a really good opportunity if I want to make a go at it, but I don't fit the quote unquote typical mode, if you will.
Yeah, and if anything, you know, this month it might be not a good fit, but next month it might be a great fit. And you know, Vince was famous for changing his mind, and
Yeah.
you know, we change our mind, and you know, next month we might come back and say, you know what, let's go back and circle back to with what we originally were going to do. So the opportunities are vast for a lot of different guys and girls, and you know, who we want to be committed to and who wants to be committed to us. Understanding with what we're trying to accomplish. And I think, you know, the other part that makes us unique is that we just don't want to be another independent group. I mean, and I don't mean to say this in a negative way, but there's a ton of independent groups out running independent wrestling shows here throughout the Northeast New England area. And, you know, one of the things that I've said to Scott, whether and the same thing applies to the school, it has to be a professional environment, both to both sides. because that's what makes us different from everybody else. And I'm hell bent on with what we have to be different. And I say that in a way with where in a good way, not in a negative way, but there's something about both groups with where people say to themselves, there's something about them that's different from everybody else.
Wow, that's powerful, especially the idea of you be a professional wrestler, not just a wrestler.
Well, it's the same thing I say to my students, and I say it often. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of independent wrestlers throughout the country, thousands.
Yeah.
For me, and this is a part that I take very seriously, is that I want pros, right? I'm hell bent with where we're going to create professional wrestlers both in and out of the ring, because let's face it, my name is stamped across their foreheads, and they're a reflection of me and with what that's been instilled upon me. And I want them to be able to go into a locker room or into a ring with where part of my friends, but they have their shit together.
You probably don't want to walk into some of the locker rooms and not have your act together. Yeah. No.
Well, it gets back, right? I mean, it gets back
Yeah,
to you, right?
right.
And, and I don't want to hear that with where someone was either misbehaving, couldn't follow direction, was being difficult to work with. And, then I got to start asking questions, why and how come? It's not with what we've discussed over the last 2 or 3 years or last year. And
Mhm.
it's,
Judging from your videos, you're not getting that response. You're getting a pretty good response, which is why you don't have to listen to it.
right. I won't tolerate it.
I love that. Which is, but again, now, we were talking before with parents, or if you're wondering, well, I mean, that says a lot right there. I know I can send my kid and they're safe.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
The bumps are the bumps, but there's a way of doing it. I don't want to say it doesn't hurt. There's a way to doing it safely.
yeah. Yep.
Comparatively.
Yep.
And that's important, and still developing the trust. The I thought, and this is my opinion, if you don't get mad at Mike, you can get mad at me if you want. I think for me, WFA, and from what I've seen, has done a great tribute to Steve Bradley. I have seen nothing but I get emotional because of the James, and I talked to him like maybe 3-4 times, so it's not like we're buds or anything, but just the respect factor that I see. Even this last one where brought out the bat,
Yeah.
and just to me, see those, you talk about little things. I look at that and go, that's a tribute without
Yeah.
saying it. And it's interesting because I think, Steve, your legacy is continuing on, and it kind of sounds like you guys are thinking, even if you may not consciously be thinking of that, you're doing the same thing, that, the contributions that you made and the impact are going to continue for years and probably generations.
And it's great that you say that, and I appreciate that. It's with what, I didn't know Steve well, not like Scott did. And I look at it from my perspective, Scott on that side, and for me with Elite is with what Walter gave me.
Mm-hmm.
So between the both of us, it's just with where, continuing to give back and carry on that legacy of that lineage of, listen, let's be honest, if, Walter didn't believe back in me in 1994, 1995, 96, I wouldn't be sitting here having a conversation with you. And, Scott, with what he's doing with the promotion WFA and with Caleb, Steve's promotion that he started is continuing to prosper and grow. And, I think it's a wonderful thing. And whoever would have thought after all these years with where it was kind of put on the shelf, and, Scott wanted to do his thing. And for, my selfish reasons, I wanted to go to Concord and do my things, as I think I might have shared with you, maybe not. So it's all good, and it's something that we should be proud of, and continue to find ways to make both of them grow with where we're resonating on the map, and people are talking about us in a way with where it's healthy and it's positive. And we'll always have our detractors, but as long as we keep our nose down and do with what we need to do, I think the rest of it takes care of itself, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. I took, as you know, I took yeah, actually James's son, my grandson there,
Mhm.
little, and he absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
And so when WFA says, hey, we're family friendly, it is, and that doesn't mean it's not tough. And I mean,
Yeah.
the characters and all that, but I didn't feel like any minute I had to put my hand over the
Yeah.
kids' ears because,
Yeah, exactly.
and it was neat. And the thing is, I liked it, and I've gone to like the big shows. We just went in Boston a few months ago, and which was amazing. And we've gone to some of the other shows. Haven't been in the ring like you, but I also didn't get body slammed by Ken Shamrock. So I might be like, okay. But the thing is for me personally, and watching, because again, obviously I watch not just the ring, but the people and the reaction and how they get a response and that type of stuff. That might be the musician in me flaring up there, but their interaction with the kids are great.
Yeah.
I took a picture of, your champion mosh pit.
Yeah. Good guy.
We're done the show. We're done the show, blah, blah, blah. And he went to high five a kid. No, nobody, probably but me and the kids are looking. And then he goes over and he reaches over and he hands him his belt to hold, and it wasn't with the cameras there. And it wasn't with the, hey, publicity shot. Yeah. Okay, good. There you go. Kid. And I've seen that with with a lot. And, to me, I just think that really makes a difference and should resonate as people go, wow, hey, wait, this is like an interaction thing. I know, a little different now. I know one of the things is initially NASCAR used to say there's more interaction with their, perform or their athletes than other places. You're not going to go on the football field, and if you do, you're not going to be there long.
Right. Exactly.
Or that type of stuff. Obviously, there's controls, but I thought it was really good. On a personal note, it was neat. I know sometimes Concord, getting Concord on on a Friday night on a holiday can be a little challenging.
Yes.
So you guys had put on, and for me, I'm going to be honest with you, it was probably one of my favorite matches, believe it or not, because you had 3 or 4 of your students come out.
Yeah.
And they did it, and you said right out, it's an exhibition and whatever. The thing for me is, I think 3 of them, maybe 4, were ones that when I got to watch you work with them, it was those 4.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I absolutely loved it because, and watching it, to me, they did what they did, and you set them up to me, it seemed like you set them up to win with where they were at.
Right.
Versus, okay, well, now you got to go do a match, or now you got to do these flips. And the different things that I saw you working individually with them, I saw incorporated in that what they were good at. And I thought that was great.
Yeah.
Just saying.
It's always when we're working with students and then when they have opportunities to get in the ring, which is with what they're striving for, is really trying to set them up for success and not asking them to do things that are out of their realm of level of understanding or capabilities. So it's more so of a positive experience than a negative experience, but there's still learning takeaways, from those situations. And let's face it, all of us, from Triple H to Rock, me, Scott, Walter, we all had starting points in our career. And more often than not, when we were starting out, we got it wrong, and we persevered and came back for more and more and more. And and it's next thing you know, you're doing your thing. But it just and that's the beauty of it. We were all infants at one point in time with where we were able
right.
we were with where we were able to grow. And I think for me, I look at it, it's always fascinating or seeing with where a student's at 6 months in or a year into their training, from their personalities to the level of confidence to the air that they have about them or how they carry themselves. And that's what this wonderful business does for us. It just really pulls out all of those little those intricate things that make us uniquely different, in a good way. To there's something about us that resonates with people.
Hmm. Yeah, people react to real.